Welcome to Charts Today, European Opening. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Thursday, the 8th of November, comes to you from Vienna, where I've been speaking at an energy conference. And we start by looking at the dollar. Dollar just trending low over the last few days. The midterm elections having disrupted the trend a little bit, but still holding its bullish position, medium and long term. We look at the euro going higher as a result of that stronger dollar, but actually just falling away a little bit over the last 24 hours. And the yen, we're seeing actually the dollar actually looking strong here on all three time frames still. Sterling actually falling back a little bit against the dollar, just flattening after its gains, but looking stronger than it has for quite some time. And against the euro, sterling holding its strength here as well, so looking stronger there. Against the Swiss franc, sitting at 131. Holding its bullish trend there as well, against the Aussie dollar, looking a little bit weaker on the short-term chart, turning bearish. Bitcoin, we're seeing is actually holding its bull trend over the last few days, so it is starting to look a bit better than it has done for a while, but in the medium and long-term charts, it's still very much a flatlining in a bearish mode. US stock markets last night were much higher. The S&P 500 index was up 2%, and so very strong gains there on the back of the midterm elections. Nasdaq into bullish territory as well, and the Dow Jones index up very significantly, also up over 2%. So markets really having had a much better week this week. We see that on the weekly chart, but we need to make new highs, of course, to be bullish. The Russell 2000 index, the broader based index, was up as well. And looking at the futures this morning, we see that the S&P future is down 0.2%, and the Nasdaq E-mini down 0.36%. So it looks like we're going to retrace some of yesterday's gains to the downside. The futures this morning, the FTSE future is up 0.4%, and the DAX future is up over 1%. So European markets set to open much higher on that US performance. And the FTSE is in bullish mode short term. We've got a 5% upside target potential there, just a loan target. Looking at the mid caps in Europe, the FTSE 250 is up 3.6%. The DAX up 0.8%, and the CAC 40 up 1.23% yesterday, showing its relative strength. Japan's up 1.7%, Hong Kong up 0.25%, China still struggling and down 0.2%, so bucking the trend and still continuing to be the weaker market. Sensex is up 0.7% after the Diwali holiday, looking a bit stronger. And the Australian market also in bullish mode. We're seeing stock markets generally recovering off the back of that strong US performance. Looking at the commodities, Brent crude continues to be bearish below the cloud at $72 with targets to 70. WTI also bearish with targets to the high 50s, $60 area. US nat gas holds its gains of the start of the week, last week, to $3.5. And if we look at some of the other products, gold starting to look a little bit bearish on that short-term chart as we pull away there. So that's looking bearish, but we are still in the process of making this transition on the medium-term chart. Silver actually looking bearish as well on the short-term chart. 10-year yield sitting at 3.22%. So we are seeing just a slight improvement there, 3.23%, and so that has activated this upside target of 339 in the short-term chart, and it's activated this 4.16% target as well on the medium-term chart. So we are seeing some quite big performances there. We saw very strong performances. Amazon up 6% yesterday, Apple up 3%. Not enough to take. Amazon, interestingly, is in bullish short-term territory now. Apple struggling still to get back into bullish short-term territory. Alphabet is also there on that 60-minute chart through to bullish territory. And Facebook was up just 1%, so they're really lagging there. Now, this data all coming to you from Thomson Reuters Icon or Metastock if you're a private user. But here we're looking now at data coming in from Yahoo Finance, so feeding into Updata. And we see here the markets were very strong. The S&P 500 index 2% up, the Nasdaq 3% up. So a big performance across the board. In Asia, we're seeing that movement pretty well everywhere. The Nikkei up 1.8%, China being the one that's bucking the trend. Taking a look at the individual performances of some of the other Nasdaq stocks, we saw stocks like Adobe up 5%. Align up 6%. We saw some really big performances here, as we mentioned. Amazon looking very strong indeed. Apple up as well. Taking a look at some of the other bellwethers, we saw Microsoft up nearly 4%. So really big recoveries there. Netflix up 5%. Nvidia, which has really plummeted lately, only up 1.2%. So not really performing, and we're seeing that relative to the Dow Jones really falling away there. Tesla up 2%. So we are seeing quite a move to the downside there. Taking a look at some of the markets here, Australia, we have amazing performances here. We've got 16% on Eclipse, although it has been a big faller this year. Corporate travel management also has been a big faller, just a relief recovery there, up 14%. Afterpay Touch up 11%. This one looking stronger. Appen up 9%. RIA up 7%. So we are seeing some quite big performances in the Aussie market, but there are still fallers. James Hardy, winemaker, down 14%. Domino's Pizza down 10%. So we are still seeing some big fallers, even though let's rise. APA down 9%. So it's a market that's really divided between rises and fallers. And the Nifty, we saw Yes Bank up another 3%, just trying to recover off the floor. Tata Consultancy up 2.7%, looking stronger this chart. It's still very much a bull trend chart. And then if we look at the downside, we still have at the bottom Vedanta. They've been a massive underperformer lately, and we see the trends negative there in the Indian market. China, we saw a pretty mixed picture. China was slightly down, remember. So we had stocks up 1.8% at the top, but down the bottom we've still got that outweighing with stocks down 2.5%. So just seeing that mix there. We're seeing Hang Seng was actually stronger, and the Nikkei, a lot of strength there as well. Meiji Holdings up 8%, Nishirai Corporation up 7.5%. So we are seeing some pretty big performances in Tokyo, and some of these charts looking a little bit better than lots of other places. Pioneer was down 4%. So we are still seeing some pretty big performance to the downside. Looking to Europe today, Europe yesterday we had the FTSE 100. NMC Health was up 4%. AB Foods up 4% off the back of their Primark reported earnings, and Melrose up 3.8%. But again, a lot of these stocks have been looking pretty bearish on the chart, so we're just seeing relief rallies. ITV was the big faller, down 2%, Royal Mail down 1.4%, and Direct Line down 1.3% in a strong market. Of course, we're expecting most UK stocks to perform pretty well today off the back of that strong performance in the US. The market's starting to think we might have a recovery in our midst. Wizz Air Holdings up 8%, and UG Healthcare up 5%. So the FTSE 250, we are seeing some strong performances. Sophos Group was down 29%, so really big falls there. G4S yesterday reporting a profits warning, further falls there too. And if we look at the Euro stocks, we saw Fresenius Medical Care in Germany up 9.5%, so but a big recovery after big falls there. Vestas Wind in Denmark looking very strong, breaking there. And if we look at Danske Bank, we're among the performers as well, up 6.6%. And then if we look to the downside, we see again Pandora, a Danish company, falling lower, down 6%. So they were there. William Dermott Holdings. A lot of these charts looking pretty bearish. Quite hard to find the bullish charts here. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, back in London. Happy charting. See you then.